This guide has been inspected and improved by Luminous.
Hey guys, this is Sunsfan and welcome to the official Dota Cinema Guide to Lone Druid. If you aren't familiar with this hero, you may want to watch the introduction we did for him at the corresponding link. Lone Druid is a very unique hero in the fact that he's kind of looked at as two heroes. Overall, he's a good carry and even better pusher that can dominate you in a multitude of ways. Skill build. First and foremost, upgrade your bear. Think of him as an extension to yourself. Leveling him up to get more HP and abilities is a no-brainer. The real question is, what do you do after? Well, sticking with standards, be sure to get your ultimate at the standards 6, 11, and 16. But aside from that, you usually want to max out synergy first with one level of Rabid at 4. If you feel more levels of Rabid will be needed in order for you to survive your lane, then go ahead and do so. But the extra damage, move speed, and HP you gain from synergy is usually too much to pass up. Item build. Items for Lone Druid become really interesting because you basically are talking about two heroes. So before we begin with this, let me mention two things. One, jungling with Lone Druid is something only found in pubs. It can be effective, but nowhere near as effective as a side lane solo. Two, generally speaking, we see players buff up their bear with items, while going with a more tanky route on their actual hero. So for starting items, getting one stout shield on the bear should be sufficient for the early game, with the rest of your money going towards consumables and iron branches for the actual hero. If you're doing relatively well in lane and want to completely dominate, then your next pickup should be phase boots for your bear. This will not only give him some good damage, but will also provide easy positioning with the unit walking and extra speed coming from it. For your hero, most players don't even bother upgrading their boots until much later in the game. If you're having trouble surviving, then treads could be looked at, but typically the extra HP you get from your ult is enough to survive. Getting a cloak early could do wonders for you as well. If you're getting into the late game, then the only real boots of choice are boots of travel. You can go heal yourself while your bear runs to whatever position you want to end up, and voila, you TP right on top of that big ponytailed furball. If you're farming well, then rushing a Radiance is next on the list. This is for your bear and can be the most annoying thing ever for the enemy. You can harass from a very far distance or just farm their jungle with very little effort. Also, don't count out on spending 350 gold on an Orb of Venom. It's very cheap for a 12% slow. As for yourself, the only core item you should get is a pipe. The regeneration and magic damage barrier will give you more than enough survivability in most cases. But like we stated earlier, your bear does get first priority with items. Getting an Assault Cuirass would be next for your bear, as the attack speed coupled with the aura are just devastating. Remember that AC will lower tower armor, and your bear already does 40% extra damage to buildings because of Demolish, so yeah, those things are going down pretty fast. Aside from that, a Vlad's is sometimes picked up, but not because of the lifesteal for your bear, but more for the armor aura. Everything past that point is considered extremely luxury. For yourself, any tanky items such as a Heart, BKB, or Shivas could be good. For your bear, perhaps a Basher, Mjolnir, or even just turn your Orb of Venom into a Scotty. Gameplay. Like we talked about, Lone Druid can be a very good jungler, but an even better solo. He's one of the few heroes that can truly go 1v2 in lane and win. Really, your job is just to harass them off lane while farming. This can be a little tricky, but if your APM is high enough, you'll have no problem. If you're not Asian, then just have an ally AFK in Fountain and give control of your bear to them, since your bear is probably more valuable than them anyway. Okay, just kidding. But once you get level 6, just stay in your melee form at all times. You get so much HP from this, it's almost pointless for the opposing team to try and kill you unless they have multiple people. And in conjunction with True Form, use your battle cry as much as possible since it will give you a lot of extra damage and armor. For a 50 mana cost, you can just about spam this, considering Lone Druid doesn't really have any mana issues whatsoever. And once your Rabbit is leveled up considerably, the same can be said for that skill. Keep it on at all times. You and your bear will be extremely tough to catch up to. For pushing, it kind of works in a similar way to Broodmother. If the enemy team leaves you alone, you can take down towers in no time. This is why counter-pushing is really important with Lone Druid. If you see your team in some sort of skirmish during any point of the game, you need to gauge whether a counter-push is the right move. A lot of times your team can act as nothing more than a distraction while you easily take out the enemy's barracks. But for pushing with your team, there are two ways to go about this. Either you push with your bear at a little bit of a distance while your team waits, or just go all in as a team. If you're letting your bear do things from a distance, just make sure you have your cooldown ready, so you can just summon a new one before he ends up dying. For teamfights, there isn't much to Lone Druid. Just target in on whoever you want to take down and right-click. Remember that the Entangling Claws will do a lot for you. It reveals invisible units, It will prevent blinkers from getting away, and it will go through BKB. On the other hand, if your enemy's smart, they'll just pop BKBs after it's procced. Either way, it's something to think about during battle. Also remember that you can take a decent chunk of damage if your bear gets killed, so try and summon him again if possible in order to avoid that. Friends and foes. Friends for Lone Druid are relatively easy to come by. Those that can disable targets in order for you and your bear to whack at them are always appreciated. Also, heroes that are able to buff your bear in some way can be invaluable. For stuns, there's so many lists, but we'll go ahead with our usual Rasta and Lion. For buffs, Alacrity from Invoker can make your bear a killing machine, while Lich's Ice Armor can be really beneficial throughout the course of a game, especially against melee attackers. People that are into bestiality, or in other words, heroes that Lone Druid and his bear hate to go up against, are those that can take advantage of the number of 2 units. Although a friend as well, Lich can be deadly with his Chain Frost bouncing between you and your bear. And of course, Witch Doctor's Paralyzing Cast can frustrate the hell out of you, as it bounces from you and your bear from now until eternity. A special mention also goes out to Bane, who can just sleep your bear for 7 seconds, therefore rendering him completely useless. Thanks for watching, guys, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Also, a special shout out goes to Flawless and Luminous for their help in writing this guide. You can check them out at their respective YouTube channels, which are linked in the video description. Also, be sure to check out our website at dotacinema.com. My name is Sunsfan, and I still love you.